Generals. This is Gamer 1745 here, and we're going to be playing some Strategic Command, World War I, Ludendorff Offensive, and welcome Arno, my good friend. I am just checking the various services to make sure that things appear to be working right. Here, yes, it appears to be going well. Oh, why does it want to do this right now? Mm, oh, no. Okay. Mm. Sorry, guys. I hate the. Go away. Don't bother me again. Right. Well, okay. We're going to make an episode here. Don't know if I'm posting episodes. No, we've not yet flattened Paris, but is victory in sight? There's Paris. Victory might be in sight. Let's, now that things are sort of kind of set, let's make an episode, sort of kind of be professional here. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745. Is victory in sight? Well, we can see Paris, so it certainly looks that way. This would not be a good end to World War One. It would have been a good end had somebody clearly, decisively won in 1914, or maybe by 1916. That could have been a good end to World War One. But unfortunately, it dragged on way too long. So there was no good end by this point in 1918. Let me open up a can of Coke here. Now, if you were over on an older video, a few years old, which is great, good to see that people are watching other stuff, commented very nicely that he was getting a lot of history lessons, and he was here for the game, not the history lessons. Well, you know, I guess to a point, I think it's what makes me see different than every other streamer is the history lessons, the lessons from history and talking about things. So I understand and feel your frustration. Appreciate it, but the history lessons are going to stay. And yes, they're going to get off topic. And yes, I will keep it in mind to try to keep a little more focused on on the gameplay. I do think that is important, but we do need to understand what's going on. All right, okay. Just wanted to get that out of the way. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but they're going to stay. He has 4 action points. He can move up to here, and Entrench. Hey Norbert, how you doing? We're going to keep the Austrians since they're a fairly small contingent over here. Yeah, I guess that's a good angle for that. But we're going to... Okay, let's see. It does look like it's road and rail there. Well, let's be sure over here. And these guys we can put on trains. Now, Paris is definitely in sight. But we have lots of forces. Maybe not, a lot of forces, but maybe not. Well, quite a few forces coming this way. Well, let's come into here. Good to hear, Norbert. Come on. Here's the 31st Division. And on the topic of talking about things, I guess, sometimes I do just want the information. And whatever that information is, and which can very well be how to successfully play a particular game. It can definitely be that. We're going to put you here, I think. And just get to the good information and stop like around or talking about other things. But that being said, I think anything like a long series, like I normally do, including this one, or what this one, requires to be. I think I get bored with just people talking about let's move the 44th Division to wherever, and that's all that, lots of artillery going to push here. Yeah, lots of. I'm looking at one where I can get this guy too. Looking at the density of divisions. Now, I can't get, this is too badly destroyed to get into here, so, well, let's, we got 3 divisions coming down already. Okay, well, we can have 4. Now, this does sort of kind of leave us a little open here, so we're going to pull you back to there, I think, and back to move up, get supply up close. Remember the last Centurion for John Ringo. Don't know that I do. Oh, okay. The book Last Centurion from I thought you left off an M there, from John Ringo. The book. I'm trying to remember. I think I did read that book. I think I know which one you're talking about. Yes. Wondering what to do with him. Okay, we got some pretty good supply. Yeah, I didn't know if it was supposed to be FOR or was my first. Okay, so we can get supply down into here fairly well. So he's going to move to this forest, which will put some flanking pressure on these unit here. Now, do I take out? That's what we do is with them, and they went bye-bye. A lot less. Well, very good. Yeah, sometimes you can just find things cheap. Um, it just varies. I was looking at something recently, and I was almost going to buy something at about $100, and then I found it for, well, it ended up being almost $50 when you included shipping and everything, but in taxes. Okay, now we're down here. Move this. Now this city, Cezanne, still controls the railway hub. Um, a rear sight for a gun. Artillery here. Maybe next turn we can use that effectively. Yeah, we move up here, and yes. Okay, I want to see. Okay, decent amount of supply. Maybe not in great shape, but we can come in here. You are back at poor shape, so let's. In the supply, but if I'm for okay. Here, let's see what we can do. You've attacked. You haven't. You would take all your action points to get to there. You can't, so we can't really go into that spot this turn. These generals are moving just one little unit back at Dunkirk. What? That way. Yeah. I'm getting a few, or I've gotten a few, getting a few more project guns, as in guns that don't work, but someday I want to get them up and running. Don't know how much work I'm going to do on them personally versus hire somebody who really knows what they're doing. Some of the stuff I probably could do okay on getting them up and going, but some of it might just be a bit too much. Okay, let's dig in and be prepared for an attack from you. Well, cool. Do you want to spoil the surprise and tell us what the Christmas present is, or are you going to be surprised? Okay. Let's see, is there, yes, we can bring in back a division. We go to infantry weapons too. Purchase. We have tank coming December 2nd. Don't know if we're going to be that in November, December. Hopefully we'll see about a book. Well, books are always cool. Really love this tool. Ah, that's the present. Okay. Right. Well, we'll give the Entente okay. Nobody like, or the Entente doesn't like to follow the line. Ah, I have not read um out of I have not read his vampire books. David Weber's. I know of them. I know of David Weber very much. So I love the Honor Harrington, and the Oh, the other series, Nemu Alban series. I love that series as well. Um, I used to read a fair amount of different vampire, Lestat vampire, the Anne Rice book, um, and wow, they're really pushing down there. I've overextended. It looks like, um, and there was The Librarian, a great book, um, vampire book, told sort of a differently, and consumed some of the other vampire media. But there was the series True Blood. I watched that or part of that. I don't know if I watched the last season. But for me, it just eventually just sort of jumped the shark just a bit too much. So I just haven't read the. Yeah, you say I don't like. I'm not saying I don't like them. I've just sort of gotten over reading them right now. Someday I may dig into them and really enjoy them, but it just sort of became more vampire. I like Weber's sci-fi, but never liked his vampires in general. Yeah, Norbert. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of David, of at least the two series that I've read of David Weber's. Like I say, Honor Harrington and the Nebu Alban. The there's another sort of name for the series I'm just blanking on at the moment. I'm actually waiting for the latest David Weber Honor Harrington book to come out on audio cassette that's sort of set a different viewpoint, but set back sort of in the mid series of the David Weber or of the Honor Harrington stuff. Okay, our cavalry division has been cut off and is in danger. Well, might just have to face that we're going to lose that. Okay, you can come down and occupy there. I guess we may lose that as well. But, well, we have reconnaissance bombers. I think we're going to recon bomb here. Yes, he does very good. Not too far away. Okay, so that probably means we need to move up closer. Just for future operations. Let's strike with it. This will open up some supplies, but we still have here. So um, Swap these two divisions. There's a town. What I wanted to do is move in and entrench. They're pure military. That was my favorite part, the vampires, which I didn't expect only to come in over halfway in the book. You don't need artillery to take this. We're going to move down here and we're going to entrench. That way we can... These guys can move into the entrenchments. No, they can't move up. Let's again look at supply. What would supply be here for? Okay. And I think we can do this. Oh, no, entrenching. Well, we can attack. Well, hey, we can attack. And with very little pain, take that down. We'll allow them to move into there. Now we'll have a bunch of guns to range in on here. Let's come up here. I did notice. Now they went from strength of 1 to 5. There is a lot of thought that goes into developing games, both from the how much is it like a simulator, how much is it a game and fun to be, fun to play. With strategic command, depending on your supply levels, I mean, that's a very real factor of what we're talking about here. But depending on supply levels, you can go from a 1 strength unit to a fully in strength unit. But still, you can look down here where it says readiness and morale. That doesn't mean that you go up to 100% readiness and morale, even though you've gone up in strength. So it isn't quite a full replacement in that sense, but I sort of, getting these guys where we can, onto railways where we can send them somewhere useful. I think about half of their losses in any one turn should be what's available. Okay, I'm going to wait to move forward. These guys, yes. So this was, if I remember correctly, at strength 6. So I would have only let him have two out of the four strength factors to see about it. Do we let one corps hold up all of these corps and wait for that artillery, or do we just start pounding on them? We're going to move them up, even though it's in the mud. Yeah, I think we're not going to pound on them anymore, because I don't think we're going to successfully take them out. All right. Well, they've gotten British reinforcements coming in through Dieppe and Saint Varney-en-Croix, or whatever. Moved him, probably hoping it could get, I don't know. Don't know what the AI was hoping. We got 6 shells. Oh, well, let's use... They can move in, but they wouldn't be either able to attack the artillery this turn or in French. So the answer is no, we're not. And okay, I don't know. Well, there are several critical fronts. But this area here is the main one. He can get here, but he can't in French. Firing off 2 shells just because you acquire 2 shells per turn, so you might as well just shoot them. Okay, well. He has. He couldn't. Damn. This rain, this mud that's being badly infecting everything. Okay. He can move and infect. He can move and infect. Different. There we go. Okay. Hmm. He is just a detachment, so we're gonna have a traffic jam here anyways. So we don't need detachments right at the face of Paris so much. Maybe a bit out on the flanks. Scattered another unit. This was obviously a bit too far that we moved out on. We don't want to be within 1 hex of Epinal, but we do want to be threatening there. Come back to there. We're letting these guys just hang out in our rear, but now that we moved up some units, get up here in strength. Okay, well, he will help supply there. When I upgrade him with anti-aircraft defense, cancel that. We got him moving up to supply that area. He's supplying and commanding here. He's got there. We don't have much down in here with all of this going on. Okay, well, you know, okay, move him to here. I do not, I'm going to leave that unit right there for this turn. I do not think there is naval landings with this scenario. So I'm going to not garrison. Well, since they abandoned this city, we're going to come in and do that. Let's take out that division. This one, we can see readiness 55, morale 20% because it's been pounded on last turn. We do this, now we go up to 62 with 20%. So, yeah, it's in better shape. Because of what we've been seeing down here. Let's move you here. Ready for reinforcing there. Let's see about you. We're pretty densely packed there. Very densely packed there. Yeah, I think here. Let's look at supply here. 3. Okay, that's probably good enough. Lots of rain. You can move up. You can't move very far. Are you going to? Yes, you're in trench. So. Yeah, you're entrenched. I can see that. Well, very good. Now, okay, and the Austrian purchase. Yes, the 1st Cavalry Division. Uprising breaks out in Austria-Hungary. I wonder if that would have happened. Zerkar announces his intention to sign an armistice. Huh? Well, but we're winning. They weren't dug in, damn. Okay, I didn't know they weren't dug in. Yes. We lost them. Suffer losses in there. Attrition losses. Okay, well. Yep. Entrench. Move up. And entrench. Okay, that will clear the road here. As we can see, the railways come through here. Now, will mean for a little while that we don't have much supply coming through, but it will eventually open up. There's probably somebody in there, that's why we didn't get that hex. I know we're not entrenched. And I know we're extending deep. Like they got us cut off before, but we're also doing this. Moving up. They can come up to here and try. Let's see about looking a bit more that way. Oh, there. Hoping you could retreat. They're all stuck in the mud. Can't retreat, damn. That way so that this guy could now move up and I don't know what to do there. Keep pushing forward. All right. Now here, okay, 6 shots. 10 shots, 10 shots. May need to use him down there. So let's him in an attack and can't move out. Damn. Okay. He can move in and in. Go to 3 sides. Let's move you to here. That way we can move you up. You can get out of the way. You can come to here. You can come to here. Oh, well. Okay. Okay, well that just beat that out. Well, we may lose our Austrian allies here. I don't know. Okay, they fell back. They fell back. They. Okay. Ah, let's look at supply here. Okay, they'll do better here. Oh, they only have one action point. Okay, now they'll do best here. I think Justin Trent will be the. Oh, well, a lot of forces up here that we need to. How close and where could we put them? Yes, down to. Hoping we get down to here, but no. Big enough railway. Why? We can come all the way down here. We get there. Oh, so massive shifting of forces. We're getting guns within range of Paris. You come in. Good. Now we're going to move these guys in closer for our next turn. We got some fighters there. We'll move you a bit more here. A bit more of that. Oh, bombing Paris, yes, okay. That was sort of expensive, bombing of Paris. Let's move you up here. Later. Hey, folk! You can push down and destroy the artillery first. Well, and I think you're meaning here or here. Let's take a look at supply. See, if we look here, okay, this is actually not so bad. Better than I was thinking. Yeah, this does sort of kind of look good here. So now we want to move in. Well, maybe let's see what we can do here and maybe retreat back out. Okay. Yeah, no, this is a good idea, folks. Oh, he can't retreat. Damn. Oh well. No, we can. I figured we could. Yeah, that's probably worth whatever damage we're gonna take there. These guys, they can move down here, and so I'm very worried in this game with supply. So maybe overly worried. Next turn, those should go away, which will help our supply situation here. We get supply coming down this way and through there now. Okay, so we will push down here. And first. So, well, you can't. If you are done. Now we got all these guys here. It's just, quite honestly, as much a traffic issue as anything else. Because these artillery are really useless to them without infantry here. Where's supply with this guy here? None. Still none. Okay. We got here more. Hopefully before he evaporates or gets clobbered. Anything to purchase? Yes, cavalry division. Don't know if it's going to get there in time. We will put it into production. Ottomans sign armistice with the Entente. The Americans come to the rescue. Yes, losses, attritional. Yep. Well, he has much more movement now. Hmm. Oh, we can't even entrench. Oh, God. Bad general, bad general. He can at least entrench. Okay, and he can entrench. Well, let's reinforce. We can swap them out. Good. Now they can. Much better. Still may not save this division, but now here they're coming up and flanking around me, which I don't think is going to do them a whole lot of good. Let's get over to the sectors that very much matter. And I still think pushing here keeps the British occupied. Well, I wanted to move you into the forest, but I guess not. Let's move up and in. There we go. Now we're moving up some forces to fill in the gaps. That is just a detachment there. Yeah. Okay, good. Now, here. That just shattered. So these guys with 108% readiness and 106 morale are going to move in here and entrench. Like that. These guys can come in and fill in those entrenchments there. These guys are going to come up, right? Or rotate the trenches around to face their enemy. You can't get any closer, damn. Okay, well. These guys can come with your hand and trench. really do too much. You know they're not entrenched, but taking that risk. So we could attack from this flank. Okay, this bit of a pain. Okay, looks like we can just take them out. Not have to worry about artillery with little or no losses. Good. Well, how are we doing supply here? I know we have been cut off. Okay, not so great. So we're going to fall back to here. You guys are going to come up. I know that may not be great for their supply either, but up in front. Keep things moving forward. Forces up here. Right. You come down to right about here. Get ready to come in and push on them a bit. Tendency is to want to put, because yes, obviously this is the main front here. But those of you who have been watching remembered when I talked about the path to Paris was up here and, well, more over here. Okay, or up, up into this area here. Because it wasn't that I was planning on a big hook around through, northern France here along the coast and coming in on the, from the west into Paris, or it wasn't that I was planning on pushing in through these forests and whatnot and coming in from sort of the southeast on Paris. It was to force the Entente, not just the French, but the Entente, to spread out their defenses and to smartly take out the forces. Let me just think about that there, but we'll see that. And I want to not miss getting that up to full strength. And we still have the same thing. Obviously, we have most of artillery 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 artillery units here getting ready to move, or to move up onto Paris and be able to put heavy firepower on, whether it's a division out here holding the flank of Paris or pushing into Paris itself. But if we just push home here, we probably would, we're getting, very, very close to. Let's see if we can do this. Take one unit out. Yes, good. One more unit out outside of Versailles. But I still think playing smartly is good instead of just relying upon this sledgehammer to push through here. And this is very, very weak. But it's very, very weak because, hey, look, all the Americans showed up over here, and here. Why? What's, yeah, and there were some already over here, but they could have been moved out by now. But what good is over here doing? And the British, and they're back in force over here, but they could be lining up, over here in France. So that is very much where I am getting my strategical ideas and where I think we should be pushing. Well, we'll fully reinforce before. Because if I can get those tanks up, they can be bashing into and through the enemy's defenses. Okay, down here. Keep pushing in and around the enemy's flanks. Like Awfully good pet gods. We can stay right where they are. Okay, I'm going to grab a Coke and I'll be right back. Just give me about 60 seconds to walk in the other room, get a Coke, come back. Well, let's get you a better picture to look at so we can study here how quickly is Paris going to fall. I will be back. So this is going reasonably well. Don't trip again. Yeah, no, I'm going slow. I'm not rushing. Well, not really going slow, but I'm not running or whatnot to trip. I've sort of kind of pulled cords out and nearly taken monitors off the table by catching the monitor cable. Okay, so I mean, we moved in here to secure the flanks with that unit. Let's entrench here. Yeah, we may lose a few divisions and things, but I think we're doing relatively well. Okay, let's. Bit of a traffic jam here. Okay, let's. Get those coming forward. And a detachment. Yes, we will end the turn. Yes. Forces, we are entering the outskirts of Paris. Haven't quite made it to the Eiffel Tower yet, but like mostly British air up against us. Yeah, I think I would lose that. But we'll see. Well, they got out their Tigavers and did okay. The detachment against the tanks. Okay, so headquarters. Oh boy, we are really getting there, and they actually sort of pulled out for some reason. I have to wonder about the AI now. Here, they're coming around me here, which is concerning locally, not so much concerning as to victory or not. Just like that was a There were Chinese laborers and Allied supply trains. Yes, folk, there were. Yeah, Asia contributed to World War One. I don't know. Maybe somebody wants to look up if somebody can figure out when was the first time that this war was called a world war. I wonder, because I have some books, and I think one of them, I'm packing things up, so I'm not sure where everything is right now. I'm taking a long, slow process and moving. It was called the Great War. At least sometime during the the interwar period. They didn't know it was an interwar period. But I wonder when, and obviously it doesn't become World War One until we've really established World War Two. And I wonder when they first, and this is another question, when did they first call it World War Two? You know, in 1939, in September, when Germany invades Poland and the Soviets invade Poland a few days later, I would say it's not clearly, maybe clearly not even, a world war, because you had Poland, France, and Britain versus Germany at that point. Slovakia is sort of, sort of kind of there, mostly I think just allowing Germans to move through their territory a bit. But you don't have Italy. You don't have Italy coming in until basically Paris is falling in 1940. Yeah, sure, you have the Soviets involved as allies of Germany, which does sort of expand things out. And just don't have them all in my head right now, but a lot of the Balkan powers are really coming into the war in 41, Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, which helped makes it a world war. Obviously, Spain and Portugal stay out of it, and which Portugal still has a larger overseas empire. Now, Japan is at war with China in 1939, clearly. But again, that's a localized war. Sure, the Western Allies, before the outbreak of, the September War, there are putting efforts into stabilizing China. But not read this news. They were always called World War One. Okay, thank you. Let me actually see about opening that up. Were they always called World War One and World War Two? Okay, Arno has done. Short answer is no, though it's hard to pinpoint precisely when World War One and World War Two or the First World War and Second World War monikers arose. During World War One, of course, nobody knew that the second one was coming, so there was no need to distinguish the first. After initially referring to European war, the U.S. newspapers adopted World War once the Americans entered the confrontation in 1917. On the other side of the Atlantic, meanwhile, Britons preferred the Great War until the 1940s, with a notable exception of Winston Churchill, who reminisced about the World War in 1927 in his memoirs. Very good article, Arno. Arno gets a gold star for the day. World War II, on the other hand, first appeared all the way back in February 1919. Okay, when Manchester Guardian article used the term in which the way people predict hypothetical World War III. Yeah, but it was Franklin Roosevelt who in 1941 publicly labeled the Second World War, and his fellow Americans quickly followed suit. In Britain, it remained simply the war until the late 40s. Roosevelt. Okay, very good. Okay, so we have basically the definitive answer. It only becomes a world war once the United States is in it. Because, anyway, I will get back to the Chinese thing. I have not forgotten where we started with this. Yeah, okay. So it was the European war prior to America's involvement. And a Luger? Well, don't know you're going to get a Luger, but a gold star, certainly. So, yeah, okay, so it takes the U.S. entering it, but you do have China and Japan entering the First World War. Why? Quite simply, territorial expansion. China wants to get the Germans out of their concession along their coast. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm sort of butchering it if I try to. Um, Not quite near Peking or Beijing, but sort of up that way, much further north than Canton um, or Shanghai regions. To get them out, there's a bit of a siege, and it takes a while for them to get the Germans out of there. I'm not sure if the Japanese participate in that. The Japanese want to pick up the German Pacific colonial possessions. So the Japanese enter there and get most of the small islands where Australia picks up the German possessions in New Guinea out there. So, it's part of the strategic reason for Australia to get involved in the war. So, really, realistically, Australia has no real interest in getting involved in the First World War. I get that it's part of the British Empire, but it is becoming degrees independent already before the start of the war. But they don't have any real interest until, other than getting parts of New Guinea, which would mean. And yes, I know that people talk about, or sometimes, hey, just play the game, gamer, and tell us what you're doing with the game, and forget everything else. But I like talking about these other subjects. Since World War II, we've been living in a sort of American / UN / Cold War reality. And but it's going to be changing. It already is changing with the Ukraine war. Was watching a video which I thought, because there was some withdrawing from the actual line of control of military forces between India and China just last month over an agreement. We're now seeing Chinese aggression and maybe heading to a Himalayan war. It may not expand outside of the Himalayas, but a Himalayan war between China and India. So I think we're still heading down that road. So how do I put this? Policies of one government or another, and I don't mean collapse of like the Soviet Union or the United States. I mean the changing from Khrushchev to Brezhnev in the Soviet Union, or from one American president to another American president, or one British prime minister to another British prime minister. Which the governments, the Constitution, the whole thing is in essence the same. But you can look at Churchill's unwavering support for the British Empire to an election change in 1945 to the Labour government. I mean, Churchill does come back, so he's still quite popular. I just think, including a lot of the soldiers, it's just like, let's go with Labour to rebuild, post-war Britain. But with Labour coming in, you have significant decolonization ideas. and not just more home rule for Canada and places like Australia. And we'll still get to the Chinese thing here eventually, but um, maybe more home rule for India or what, but really sort of a desire to decolonize the British Empire under Labour. Part of it, I think, is a practical matter, but I also think part of it is ideological matter. So you even get, switches within, just because of different political parties within otherwise same continuities of government. And to a point, things are zero-sum games. So we can look at, say, a lot of and we're still on the Pacific Islands here. A lot of the Pacific Islands after World War II, America has set them up as protectorates of one levels or the other. And I'm talking like the Marshall Islands and some of these others that are nominally independent, where Guam and American Samoa are actual American territories. They're not states, but they're, core parts of the American territories. Well, in some of those islands out there, there has been, in recent years, a lot of Chinese influence moving in, including at times some of the governments, I think, in the Solomon Islands that have, within the last 10 years, have like forbidden U.S. warships from making a port visit, just coming by and saying hi and let the sailors have a few days of spending money in the local bars and whatnot. Just because China has influence there. And then they did back down from some of that when they got spanked by America, somewhat publicly. But islands like those have no ability to defend themselves. And yes, there were mercenaries out in the Indian Ocean have succeeded and or attempted to change governments out there. But yeah, some of those islands, quite honestly, if I got me and 50 guys together, we can go and take one or more of them over if we wish to. That's how well defended they are. Except that if we tried that, the U.S. government would show up and say, no, no, no. So, but we can see a real potential for, I don't know how these guys survived, but we'll see if we can keep them alive. We can see, like going on right now, where the Chagos, or however you pronounce it, the islands that are where the Diego Garcia is, the current Labor government wants to give that, quote unquote, back to, what is it, Mauritanias? Never been part of Mauritanias. Instead of having them being British possessions. And it looks like that maybe, they're going hell-bent for leather and trying to get it done as fast as possible, but now that Trump's won the election, the U.S. might object because we have leases long-term with the British government for Diego Garcia, and we may just object to that happening, partially because, again, China, whether and supposedly the agreement is that the U.S. would get to continue to lease the bases from Mauritanias or whatever, or Mauritius, or however you pronounce it. I don't know. But the other islands might end up getting a Chinese base, whether a full-blown naval, an air base, or just simply a listening post, kind of base or something like that. So the U.S. may just put their foot down and say no. But like I'm showing here is these islands do not have any sort of ability to protect themselves. If America were to leave Guam tomorrow and have clearly no interest in protecting whatever the new government of Guam is. It's not like Guam's going to, well, we're going to be independent, yay, wave our flags, yay, cool. Not that they want to be independent; they actually like being an American possession. Even after we literally destroyed every building on their island in 1944 or 45, they were all very happy to see us back and see the Japanese gone. That Guam would not remain independent, whether China would pick it up or Philippines would pick it up or Indonesia or maybe Japan again. Somebody would fill that power vacuum. And so every piece of territory on the planet, for whatever reasons, is a strategic point. And as things shift, when it becomes apparent that America isn't going to be able to police everywhere, everything, all the time, there's going to be needing more regional powers. So this is getting back to Australia. The idea of having somebody else move into the eastern half of New Guinea, whether that would be the Dutch potentially moving over. Britain signed a treaty with Mauritius a long time ago to turn over the islands. Well, no, because, well, the thing that I saw, which China, hello, Ari, they're currently British overseas possessions. There was sort of kind of a British administered, that it was part of the British, colonial administration under Mauritius, that those as part of it. But in giving my understanding, and I can be wrong, folk, I know, but my understanding is that in the sort of independencing process of Mauritanius or Mauritius, or however you pronounce it, if not both ways, I don't know, that the islands were created as a British territory, so they were sort of nebulous. They were never really part, because nobody was basically out there until Europeans showed up and then moved slaves in from places. I don't know where, and I think initially some of the French were doing some of that, at least in that region. I don't know if those particular islands. So giving back, I think, is a bit, and then it's only been within Keir Starmer's. I think that they've been recently trying to turn him back over, or turn him over to Mauritius. So, yeah. And so even though you've got Jungle Island that might have, I don't know, you don't know in 1914 whether it's potentially oil or coal or diamonds or gold or whatever that may be in that jungle that's worth going after, other than having, cannibals and headhunters and whatnot, in an inhospitable jungle. It's a strategic position that, does Australia want, say, Japan, even, and because remember, in 1914 to 1918, Japan's main strategic defense plan is be allied with Britain. They very much were being allied with Britain, and that they were sort of almost kind of Britain's naval arm out in the Pacific, and they were very, very strategically aligning themselves with the British Empire, and figuring that they were going to, fill in the cracks, like places like modern day Taiwan or Formosa or Korea, and other little islands around, fill in the cracks out there and maintain the British imperial peace in the world and get their bits of China and whatnot. So that it had been a very pro-British situation. But does Australia want to see even a pro-British Japan or somebody getting, New Guinea? So there is a local reason for Australia to enter the war, but that doesn't necessarily mean, and there are little to no Anzac, Australian, New Zealand troops in Flanders, in up here, in this part of the world, to my knowledge. What really does interest Australia is once the Ottomans come into the war, because now you're talking about the Suez Canal and strategic connection between Australia and Europe. So that is now becoming more of an interest to Australia, because realistically, the borders and power blocks in Central and Western Europe really don't matter that much to Australians, to the point of dying over it. We're not talking about who you want to wave flags in support of, but actually dying over. It doesn't mean a whole lot to them, because none of this war here, here, is affecting, British territorial imperial communications. It might be affecting things like trade blocks, tariffs and that kind of thing, which would, incidentally, in some vague way, affect Australia, but nothing directly to fight and die over. But now if you're talking, we don't have the world map here, but communications through the Suez Canal, that does. Because that is, going around Africa, and we're having to go around Africa now because of the Houthis, does really affect significantly trade and communications, whether that means people going on vacation. I know most people nowadays, of course, fly, but they didn't then, between Britain and Europe and Australia. So is Australia going to be an isolated country in Asia with its only real direct contacts up to the United States? Yeah, I know there's a little bit of Canada or whatnot that they can sort of communicate with. But is it going to be sort of subject, is it going to be a lesser power in the sphere of the Americans? Or is it still going to be part of, and again, we got to think in 1914 terms, a global Britain that's networked from both east and west into Australia through India and all of that. And again, the India trade, which was still a very big thing in 1914 for both India and Britain, is highly, again, facilitated through the Suez Canal. So that's why they get there. And so, okay, back to, yes, Chinese labor troops. So they have the besiegement of the German concession in China, the main one that fights for a while. Japan comes into the war, picks up the various small islands. And China, I'm not sure why, other than maybe prestige, because I don't think they're getting a whole lot out of it other than that. They send soldiers basically to France. And on the Chinese scale of things, I don't know how good of soldiers they were. I don't know if they sent their best soldiers or just dudes in uniform. But basically, they end up being, and I think for the individuals, happily, um, whether they wanted to be sent to Europe or not, I don't know. But um, happily, just being laborers on the railways. I don't think overall they. I think they felt well treated. I think they felt, that they were doing okay just being, loading and unloading railway cars and similar sorts of jobs, unloading ships onto railway cars and whatnot. Because, it's work, certainly, but it's not dying and it's useful and important work. It's not just a make work job. So, yeah, Japan really doesn't do any soldiers into Europe. I think they do some naval assets into the Mediterranean or something, again, to sort of try to keep the trade communications, because Britain and Japan are doing a lot of trade as well. So, doing a bit of that. And so that does sort of get you, along with, once the Americans are in it, a world war, in that just about every major continent, there's the war. The only real continent that isn't involved is South America, and that's only, really sort of, a little bit of naval type stuff going on, commerce raiders and whatnot down there. Very, very little. Because you got to remember, there's not just the Ottomans up in sort of Egypt, Sinai area kind of thing, but you have the German colonies in Africa, and particularly Tanganyika, with, I hope I get this, von Vorbeck. Leto Vorbeck, whatever. Very good general down there. And that does eventually, because Mozambique is down there, somehow drags Portugal into the war. So yeah, well, with Portugal, yeah. I mean, there are some, Dutch and British and French colonies in South America. So yeah, it is a world war. Now, the first global war is the 7 Years' War. Now, it isn't a world war, but it is a global one. It is fought on, if we, forget about, they didn't know about Antarctica at the time. Literally, they didn't know about it. 7 Years' War. But it is fought on every continent, otherwise, every area. But the Chinese aren't involved, the Japanese aren't involved. It's just some French and British ships out, in the sort of Canton region, with the China trade battling each other a little bit, and they're battling in India, the British and the French, and of course battling in North America and whatnot and other places. So it's global, but it's not world, in that not everybody in the world is involved in it. So yeah, that's sort of how this is a world war, and not just, yeah. And of course, the Napoleonic Wars are also global, in the same sense that the 7 Years' War is global. Okay, now, so let's first hit with that. Take our lumps. Okay, so what we can do here now is, these guys have 4 action points, takes 3 to move in front of the enemy. Rotate your fences around, and you move in and fill the gap. You move up, the detachment moves up and builds entrenchments. Damn. This rain and mud and come on, I need you to get forward. To push more into Dieppe. Okay, so you can move up and entrench. You can move up and entrench. I know I'm somewhat fanatical about entrenching everything as I move up, but sure, I could have attacked this unit with a, oh, we've got a bot over on Discord if Arno wants to kill it, if he hasn't already. And hello, Beam Slam. Well, where there's Paris, we've taken parts of the outskirts. They're losing morale because we've taken there, and we're pushing in. So we're getting there. So yes, I've had immediate opportunities here to attack at favorable exchange rates, but to a point, I don't see why. The Japanese were the prime force in the siege of Tsingtao. Thank you. I was wondering about how to pronounce that. German colony in China. Yes. So they were the primary force. Okay. I don't know much, as you can tell, much about that. I do know that that was a issue with the Chinese in that they wanted to see the Europeans gone. Everybody has their perspectives. The Chinese have their perspectives, their nationalists, Chinese think they're just so much better than the rest of us. They just do. They think they're so much better than the rest of us that they're not even on the same planet as us. They feel. And that their term, or one of the terms, obviously it's not a kingdom anymore, but sort of the middle kingdom, with above them sort of heaven and below them the rest of earth, outside of China, so that they're somehow elevated above. I flew nearby Paris today, in just where the front line is. Oh, well, cool. Been a long time since I've been in Paris. More like 20 years, or a bit more. Long time since I've been in Paris. But so the Chinese they don't like foreigners, generally speaking, but they definitely don't like foreigners in what they think is their territory. Now, I personally believe that places like the concessions in Shanghai and Hong Kong were good for China, because A couple of reasons. One, Chinese law to this day is not very reliable, one, and two, entirely favors, even when the facts don't, the Chinese perspective over foreign perspective. So unless they really, really, really need you, if there's, say, a copyright or patent case, they're going to side with the Chinese firm over the foreign firm or whatever, interest, business, whatever. So, and this is the way it was under the Mandarins, and this is the way it is under current Chinese government, and basically all points in between. So having a foreign concession and having the idea of the Europeans individually under European or whatever various justice things, courts and whatnot, allowed Europe to influence China, I think, for the positive. I mean, we can talk about whether the influence of communism and Mao, or the influence on Mao and whatnot, was just so devastating that all the rest is not worth it. But that is sort of their choice, in that wasn't a foreign imposed cultural revolution / mass suicide pact. So yeah, and so they don't like, it's, really Spain. Tsingtao, not Tsing Tsingtao, not Tsing. Sorry. Yeah. Well, they're very well maybe different spellings. Oh, it was actually Flight Sim got a new map with Paris on it. World War I Flight Sim. Oh, okay, cool. I thought you actually meant you were flying near Paris, and I thought, well, cool. Heading home or something, or if you're back home now, I didn't know, or if you were wherever. But yeah, come on, Spain. You're all butthurt over Gibraltar? Like somehow that's Spanish territory? Hell, it's a corruption of an Arabic name, Jeb Altar or whatever. And Spain still has a couple little pocket possessions in modern day coast of Morocco. And prior to the British getting Gibraltar, there basically was nothing there. It's not like there was, there may have been a fishing village or some BS, but it's not like, oh, Mallorca and Majorca and whatnot that Britain briefly had, or some other, significant territory where significant numbers of Spanish-speaking people live or lived. They got moved out. No, it was sort of, a peninsula with a big rock on it that may have had some fort there or something. And this is what, in the 7 Years' War or before it? I think before the 7 Years' War. And you gave it up in a treaty that ends the war, and you're still butthurt over, like, oh, hey, yeah, we're not going to participate in whatever this, Olympics or something over, Oh no, I one of the things was Spain was really hurt when Charles and Diana went on their honeymoon, one of their first stops or something. This was way like in the 80s or whatever. First stops on the honeymoon was in Gibraltar with the royal yacht or something. And that really, people. I mean, that somehow that little bit of territory is somehow wholly Spain, that Britain can't own it. No, it's been British since it's been developed. I mean, come on. You know, I don't, you know, I don't have an emotional response to the idea that we don't have all of North America and Canada is somehow independent from us. For maybe strategical reasons, I would want to, have America annex Canada. But as some sort of big emotional thing that, well, those are American colonies that are oppressed by, British sycophant occupants that still, revere the English crown, that we should liberate them and make them, no, no. I don't have any, I don't have, we could talk about the Bahamas or Bermuda, which are, former British colony. Well, Bermuda is now independent. For strategic reasons, I might want to pick up some of those islands, but I don't have any emotional that, oh, well, those are colonial islands that were part of the colonies and the Americas, and we need to unite the and get all butthurt over it. So, and so, like I say, and so, and so yeah, I just sort of kind of think that, um, the idea that, yeah, it's a bigger concessions in some place like Shanghai or in a bigger city. It's not a huge concession there. That, yeah, I get the idea that it's a bit, hey, you've lost a war and you don't want to admit it, but particularly Hong Kong, which was literally nothing but a couple of tiny fishing villages when the British sort of acquired it, that they get all upset over. But it really did help China to have the interaction. Let's see what Flying Circus, right? It was Spanish until the 1700s. Yeah, Gibraltar. Yeah, yeah, it was, but it's like I forget which treaty, but Paris is a pretty city. Even the Germans wouldn't destroy it in World War II. Well, Hitler ordered Paris destroyed. It was the local German commander didn't. Okay, let's attack the flanks here first. Weaken this down. Well, I don't know. Yeah, my perspective, I don't know. My perspectives on the world are maybe very different than most people's. Okay, we have 8 rounds. That's well fortified. I think. You come in here and build entrenchments. You come in and fill those entrenchments. Those two can fire at here at Paris. They can, and those two, well, these three can fire at him. So we're definitely moving in on them. There's made a movie about this. Yes, Is Paris Burning, I believe, is the name of the movie. Um, made in the 50s, maybe more like the 60s. So yes, they did make a movie on it. Quite honestly, that is, at least initially, how I knew that this was a thing. Well, there may be another one, but I think it's called Is Paris Burning? And it deals with the final days of German occupation. How far you can get to there, maybe. So let's move forward. Well, I don't know if this is better, but let's move it up. Moving on up. Okay. Yes, I think this very much in the terms of traffic jam and traffic management. Okay, too far back. So up. Very good. Hey, David, how you doing? Are we winning? Well, there's Paris right there. So what do you think? Looks like winning to me. Okay. Well, did you attack? You've already, yeah. Yes, we are. Okay, we took the. Now, is that Yeah, I think whether is that just the release date on DVD or of the older movie? Because I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Because I think it was starring. Let me see who before I put my foot in the mouth. Yeah, 1966 film. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, Goldfinger, I think, plays the main German general, or the actor who plays Goldfinger in the James Bond movie. That is the movie, at least I'm thinking of. But yeah, this is 1966. It has Glenn Ford in it, Kirk Douglas, um, uh, Charles Boyer, Leslie Caron. So a bunch of French. Like I say, the guy who plays Goldfinger in James Bond is like one of the major German generals. Very good movie. So that's the one I know of, at least. Okay, down here, we're going to do is switch these out so that these guys can entrench like that, and these guys are entrenched, but they are now reinforced and entrenched. So it's a pretty good movie. I'm not saying it's great or anything, but it's a pretty good movie. And if you want to sort of know about the last days of Germany and World War II Germany, it's pretty good. Pretty good movie. There, to there. Also, the movie is Paris Burning, about Parisian transgender culture. I think that's another subject. Yeah. Yes, if that's, yeah, I've not heard of that movie. I don't doubt that that movie exists, but yeah, okay. Uh, what to do with all this artillery? Okay. Are you on a railroad? Can I just, yes, I can just move you somewhere. We're getting too much artillery around here. Uh, need it down there. We don't need it here because we don't need to take any of these places out here. They would help in securing a marginal victory, but I don't think so. Okay, well, Here, try to move it that way. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, we were able to take that. Okay, nothing lost so that we can replace it. Let's take a quick look around. A lot of what we're doing is getting ready to assault Paris. But yes, I think very much our assault on Paris is also taking place out here, because it's moving these other forces that would be defending Paris. We have yeah, not maybe a movie I really am interested in seeing. Why are they getting all the good weather? Out. You're going to run out of supplies very, very soon here. I don't know that taking or damaging a general that bad is that worth it. Okay, well, got a fresh division. Got these guys. Let's put them up here. Rebuilt. Okay, Arno wants to see the Paris or the drag show. All right. Let's be smart about this. Unlike my normal. Still too far. Okay. Okay, let's see now. You can withdraw. You can come up here. Hopefully, still be able to withdraw. Yes, good. Okay, so we've just got this position here. Now, here again, let's be somewhat smart about this. Oh, you're too far away. Did we? No, we're going to be straight with you. Now we're going to. I think we've knocked over the Eiffel Tower by now. Okay, well, we're going to come in here and entrench. There we go. That's a French general sitting back there. Leave the champagne factories intact. Well, I don't think there's any champagne factories in Paris. I think they're out in Champagne, wherever Champagne is, out somewhere in the French countryside. So I don't think there's any danger of that. Oh, we found the Portuguese again. There we go. Keep moving up. You can trench. It's now up here. What we're going to do is come down here like this. And let's do our entrenchment now. Something here. What I'm checking on is my main monitor died yesterday, so I'm on sort of two monitors right now. I've ordered another one, and I want to not have it sitting out on my front door and have it disappear. So I'm making sure that I know when it gets delivered. It's out for delivery right now. Okay, so not sure it changed the calculus. All right. We are pushing. Oh, back up over these guys, yes. There we go. Now here, all the way up to 6. That means supply's getting a little better coming down through here. Yeah, no need to attack there, really. Okay, well, let's see what happens now. German decisive war-winning victory. So yes, we have taken Paris. Now, according to this game so far, from the events that are happening that are programmed into it, I don't know that any of those events or have other conditions based upon what's happening here. I could definitely see the Ottomans piecing out against the Entente, even if the Entente is going to lose against Germany, just because the Ottomans are being overwhelmed and are collapsing. That's basically what happens. They become the Turks. Go from the Ottoman Empire into the, what is it, Turkish Republic or whatever in English. So Austria is definitely weak, but, or Austro-Hungary, I should say, is definitely weak, but I think could hold on if Paris is falling. Now, would this really have ended the war? Well, let's think about this for a moment. And do you think at this stage, we're November 12th, 1918, the U.S. And the Western Allies had been planning a 1919 spring-summer offense, gearing up for it with lots of new weapons like the Browning BAR, I guess just be a Browning automatic rifle, that did see a teeny bit of combat right around this time period, but mostly they were trying to keep it off the front lines so that the Germans didn't know about it. The Americans had massively in production how do you say it? The Parsden device, in which you carry in a canvas, pouch on your belt that's fairly big, and you pull out the bolt of your 1903 Springfield rifle, and you stick this thing in it, and you get a 30 caliber pistol caliber, 30 caliber but pistol type caliber round, semi-automatic round in your gun. So and it's clumsy. It's not something you really want to do in the midst of combat, though I could definitely see that, if you're carrying, your standard bolt and you're carrying some standard rounds, that the pistol caliber round might just not have significant range and you need to have greater range. So that you might actually switch back and forth once in a while, but it just for long range shooting, you shoot the bolt action. Now, of course, the Germans were spinning up massive amounts of MP-18 submachine guns that would have been around by 1919. And of course, all the Allied production of tanks and aircraft. So I would say the Entente is not fully defeated by taking of Paris. But if you've had enough units crushed, that's helping you keep the, front lines, manned and they've been crushed, and you've had to fall back, and you've had to put your reserves, like all these Americans that were not fighting in 1918, they were in France. There were large, my understanding, and I'm definitely not the greatest World War I historian by any means. There were a lot of American divisions in France. Very few of them actually got up to the front lines because they were being trained up and getting ready for the 1919 offensive. But as things have crumbled here, they've been required in the front line. So I don't know, if Britain isn't going to collapse, America isn't going to collapse. France might over this. France just might. Obviously the Russian Empire has already collapsed, and they're in the midst of a civil war by this point. Yeah, I think by November, the Civil War sort of starting or whatever. So, yeah, Russia's collapsed. I could definitely see the British and Americans realizing the main strategic hub of Paris with its, railway hub being knocked out as being a really bad thing. And if the French decide to negotiate a peace, are the British and Americans going to fight the French to keep fighting inside of France? So I can see it ending the war, but all the rest being historical, it's difficult. Not impossible, just difficult. So what is Beam saying? Perhaps negotiated settlement would be more likely just before any potential fall of Paris. Well, would the French be willing to admit to themselves that France or Paris could fall? So that's the thing. I've argued that some of the stupid elements of this AI, defending way out here with the Americans and whatnot, and not that they shouldn't defend out in the West here. No, I'm sorry, in the East here. It's that they, are functionally doing a very forward defense as opposed to falling back to, more defendable lines before you've collapsed. That I've argued that, well, that may very well be what an actual real world French leader would do, because all the politicians are screaming, "We got to defend out here. We got to defend every last inch." Blah blah blah. Where the military's guy going, "Hey, no, we fall back to here. We fall back." They're thinking purely in combat terms and not in national political terms. So I think a human player would be much, much harder to defeat than the AI here. So, but the AI may be following what a real person commanding France in, 1918 would do, as opposed to a modern person who is, looking at the most core game elements. So, yes, okay. Well, kills, map control, map or MPPs. Okay. National morale, victory position. And so now we can see. Okay, so the British here have been able to rebuild their forces. They initially like come in here and then have to come via sea to these two ports. So as they're losing ports, it ain't going good for them. But they do have a real force in place. Down here, the French are just no, bunch of generalists. Their HQs, a few spot units. No. Yeah, no. So they're going down. If it looks like this, they're going down. Well, what I am going to likely do next weekend, next Saturday, is play either this scenario. I'm going to do some research to see if it is recommended. I haven't done that yet. Either this scenario or the 1914 scenario, of the Schlieffen plan, but see about playing it from the Allied side, the Entente side. So whether I'm not sure if either one are or which one might be best. Yeah, the front is fully collapsed, being slammed. Yes, but play it from the opposite side. And have you tried Total Realism mod? No, I have not. For this game or some other game, I don't know. I have not. In either case, I'm going to see Arno. That's my first choice, but I've got to make sure that it's somewhat designed, because if the AI just doesn't assault from the Schlieffen plan, if there's not a good AI to play against, there's no point in playing it. So I got to check and make sure that there's an aggressive AI to fight against. So we will see what we can do. So if it's reasonably doable, we will, Arno. And first the 1914, but I'll have to look at both of them. So yeah, so I want to thank you all for hanging out with me. Thank you, David, Beamslam, of course, Arno. Who else has been around today? I did say David. Oh, Ari and Norbert. Sorry, I'm not forgetting you guys. Just got to scroll up and refresh. So yeah. Oh, and Folk, of course. Strategic Command Europe and Global comes in two versions, corps and divisions. Yes. Yeah, so okay, we will see. Yeah, Strategic Command. Yeah. If you're talking, yeah, World War II. Okay. So thanks everyone. I hope maybe Arno is, if you're feeling better, hopefully well enough, hopefully you can come back and play War Thunder with us tomorrow. So that's tomorrow's thing, is more War Thunder. So hope to see you then. So thanks everyone. Have a great day.